So, coming from Quartz, Meta is unwinding its $2 billion AI acquisition as China forces the deal apart. Meta has cut Manus off from its internal data systems and told staff to stop using the platform, taking the most concrete steps yet towards reversing the deal. Right? So basically Meta, a couple of months ago, came in and purchased this AI company out of China called Manus. So basically they kind of create like workforce optimization AI things. This was a Chinese company. They moved to, I think it was to Shanghai in order to try to wash things up. So essentially they could be purchased by a Western company. Meta comes in and buys them because, I don't know, it's the latest thing Mark Zuckerberg wanted to buy. Don't ask me what Meta's AI policy is. No fucking clue what that is. But anyways, Meta comes in, buys Manus, and essentially as soon as they did, the Chinese government started saying, wait, what's going on? And they started talking about forcing Meta to roll back the acquisition, and now it looks like the rollback of the acquisition is going through. I do find this to be very interesting because one of the narratives that we hear a lot between the United States and China in this whole AI war thing is the whole idea that the Western world invents and the Chinese just copy, right? 1.4 billion people that are the population for the factory of the world, but they don't have the intellects to be able to create things on their own. They're just copying what real people, create. And so what is interesting here is basically we have this Chinese AI company that gets developed, actually gets acquired by a Western company, and now China is stepping up and saying, hey, maybe we don't like this. If you can do export controls on GPUs and all kinds of stuff against China, does China necessarily want the Western world coming in and scooping up the possibly very successful AI companies that will be produced in China, right? One of the things to think about, Jensen Huang came out and said, 50% of the world's AI engineers are now in China. So China has 50%. It's not that China has 50% and the US has 50%. No, it's China has 50%. And then the rest of the world get to split up the other 50%. And so something to be thinking about is it seems only reasonable as time goes by is that technological development in China is going to accelerate. And if not now, within the rather near future, they are going to start creating things that simply are not created in the United States, right? So much right now when we hear about Huawei creating AI accelerators, or we hear about the Chinese GPU cards that just came out. So much of what we're currently hearing is, oh well, that's nice and all, but it's subpar to the American technology. It's subpar to NVIDIA. They're just trying to catch up with things. One of the things to think about in the technology world, right, is there's a whole bunch of problems. There's a whole bunch of problems, right? You sit down, especially if you're an engineer, technology person, and somebody asks you, what problems do you see? You're just gonna keep talking for a day. You're just gonna keep talking about all these problems, right? So one of the things to be thinking about in the business world is businesses have to focus on specific problems, right? There's only so many resources available to solve problems. So generally what's gonna happen in the business world is you're gonna sit down with a boss, your peer group or whatever else, and it's like, okay, what are the major problems that we see? And then you're gonna scribble on a board or whatever else, and you're gonna come up with like the 10 major problems. From that, you're gonna figure out the resources required to solve each of these 10 problems, and then you're gonna look at the priority, basically, how beneficial would it be for these particular problems to be solved? And from that, you're going to weight all of those different options, and then you're gonna pick the one option that you think is most valuable to you, right? And so you've got 10 problems, and then you're only gonna solve 2. Think about this in the startup world. The startup world is kind of like the same way, right? There's just a tremendous number of problems out there, but if you're creating a startup company, you can only focus on 1 or 2. And so an interesting thing to be thinking about is in the Western world, we are focusing on the problems that we see, which is fine. We focus on problems. It doesn't mean that they're the only problems, right? There's a lot of other problems out there, right? So you have these Chinese engineers, and they're looking at their set of problems, and they're looking at their values and resources and all that kind of stuff. And the curious thing to think about is they are going to start solving different problems. right? The problems that they can solve, that they think are valuable to solve, and those are going to be different than necessarily what the Western world is doing. And the thing is, more and more of those are going to become successful. More and more of those are going to become market leaders. And we might find out that they actually pull ahead in specific areas simply because they decided to try to solve problems that we just simply hadn't thought about solving. And think about this with Huawei, right? One of the cool things about doing these videos for years, since 2009, is if you follow me long enough, you will remember the bouncing ball from a long time ago. Back before I knew how to pronounce Huawei, Huawei, Hua. Wow, whoa. Anyways, remember when I used to not know how to pronounce Huawei? Because honestly, I didn't give a fuck. It was like, I don't know, it's this H thing. Who cares? It's a Chinese piece of shit company. Why should I care how to say that name? Anyways, I do believe it was like 2012. Interop New York. I talk about Interop New York a lot because it was a great conference. Anyways, Interop New York. I still remember sitting there watching a presentation from Huawei back in the day. And the interesting thing that they were talking about is their sealed networking equipment. Right? So basically, in the United States and most of the Western world, when you have networking equipment, switches, routers, modems, all of that kind of stuff, it's expected to be going into a server room or a data center where it's going to have HVAC, be in climate-controlled environment, and be clean. Right? If you go into a Western data center or server room, you're expecting it to be pretty clean, right? And so you have all the Cisco equipment and other Western manufacturers of equipment that use fans basically to circulate air through the equipment in order to cool it. Well, here's the thing. When you go to India, when you go to a lot of other places around the world, where the networking equipment is might not be as physically clean. Like, I think about this with India. Certain parts of India, the dirt is like talcum powder consistency. It's like weird. And this isn't like being mean to Indians. It's just your fucking dirt's weird. I don't know what the hell to tell you. Like, I remember I woke up because I spent 4 months backpacking in India years ago. I remember this one point, like I was in this one hotel and I woke up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun was coming up and it was amazing because I looked out and it was just the most amazing view of the mountains. It was just one of those magical moments of like, you're in India and it's like 5 o'clock in the morning with your little chai and you're looking at the mountain. It was amazing, right? I go out, take a shower, got to go to get cleaned up, come out about an hour later. Once the traffic has started moving, man, you couldn't see shit. You couldn't see like 100 feet in front of you, right? Because as soon as the traffic started moving, it just kicked up this incredibly fine, just dirt, dust shit. And like, yeah, so you went from having a magnificent view of the mountains yonder to fucking 200 feet. Well, the important thing to be thinking about, right, if you're putting computer equipment into that kind of environment and you have vacuums, right? That means all that shit's gonna be sucked up into your networking equipment, and your networking equipment is gonna die. And so one of Huawei's claims to fame back in 2012 is a completely sealed equipment, right? The outside had all of the heat sinks and all that kind of thing, and the idea is you could just plug this into an environment and be good to go. Now at the time, oh, that seemed funny. Oh, that seemed hilarious, right? Cisco is for the real technology companies, and Huawei is for those places that can't even build a server room worth a damn. Well, now it's 2026, and I do believe Huawei is the largest network equipment manufacturer in the entire world. Why? They targeted the problems that they saw. They targeted the market segment that Cisco did not give two fucks about, and right, there's a huge amount of the world that actually cares about that particular market segment. And so what's kind of interesting here is with this whole US AI or US China AI thing, one of the big questions is, as we go into the future, what companies, what products, what ideas is China going to develop? And they don't just want us acquiring it and pulling it out. We take a look at this with this whole Manus acquisition thing. This is interesting too, because it doesn't look like it's going to be a very clean breakup. Access to Meta's internal data systems have been cut off for Manus and its staff, and Meta employees have been barred from using Manus tools for internal work as the company moves to operationally separate from the agentic AI startup it bought for $2 billion in December. So they bought this thing in December. It's been about half a year now, and now they are trying to break it apart. Bloomberg Bloomberg, which reviewed the internal memo, reported that it characterized the change as a sunsetting of Manus and told employees to wind down active projects by shifting them to Meta's own infrastructure rather than initiating anything new on the platform. The operational split is the most concrete step yet toward unwinding the acquisition after Beijing ordered the deal reversed. China's National Development and Reform Commission directed Meta to unwind the transaction in April, citing unspecified laws and regulations following a months-long regulatory probe that began almost immediately after the acquisition was announced. Reversals of completed transactions are an uncommon tool for Chinese regulators, making the directive an unusually aggressive intervention. And that's going to be the interesting thing going forward with the whole U.S.-China thing, right? I can't say we were unusually aggressive. We're getting only more aggressive vis-a-vis China. So what's going to be interesting to see is as they start responding in kind, and then what is that going to mean? A big thing to understand about the relationship between the United States and China is no matter how badly the United States treated China over the many years, the idea was that they were always supposed to acquiesce, right? No matter what we do, you have to understand that we might make mistakes. It's your job to suck it up and keep selling us the products that we want to buy from you. What's going to be interesting is as things move forward, is it going to be more difficult? What happens when China starts putting export controls on Huawei equipment? What happens when, Chinese companies start building the AI stack, the AI infrastructure, and they refuse to allow American companies to access it? I think a lot of folks in the United States really haven't thought that through. The idea is that China is the follower, China is the copier, ergo, we don't really need anything. Actually, we need everything that China produces. But anyways, we don't, right? It's this weird world. Though Manus had Chinese roots, the company shifted its base of operations and key personnel to Singapore in 2025, ahead of Meta's December announcement that it was buying the startup. The NDRC's order made clear that offshore incorporation does not shield a deal from Beijing's authority when the underlying technology and talent originated in China, a structure critics had called Singapore washing. To comply with the unwind order, the three founders are exploring raising roughly $1 billion from outside investors to fund a buyback at a valuation matching the $2 billion Meta paid, with the founders potentially contributing personal funds to cover any gap. A successful buyback could eventually lead to a Hong Kong IPO, with Manus reorganized as a Chinese joint venture. I think that's going to be the other interesting thing. If we see these kind of ventures being rolled back, one of the big questions is kind of like how. like Facebook or Meta already handed over the $2 billion. This thing got closed like 7 months ago at this point in time. One of the interesting things is when you start talking about pulling things apart, there is that whole question of how cleanly can you pull these acquisitions apart. The financial mechanics of a full reversal remain unresolved. The path to a clean reversal is further complicated by the fact that early backers, among them Tencent and such, have already been paid out from the deal. So the money has already gone to them, while Manu's personnel have taken up workspace inside Meta's Singapore offices. Even with the data firewall in place, certain integrations, such as the ability to connect with Meta's Ads Manager and Instagram, have continued to function. So there we go. So Meta is officially unwinding the Manus acquisition because China is forcing them to do so. It's a whole bunch of ugliness going on with that, just because, yeah, it does sound like a relatively ugly process. And I do wonder what this means, going forward. As we said, Jensen Huang, he apparently thinks that China has 50% of the AI engineers in the world. So it seems probably pretty obvious that they are going to start producing more and more truly interesting, truly novel, truly world-class products. What happens when the Western world or the United States gets blocked from those products, right? Or even gets blocked from possible returns. Like one of the weird things going on right now in the United States is this whole idea that American investors shouldn't invest in China. Right, but they're American investors, right? So American investors that invest in China, if there's returns, whether it's dividend or whether it's the increased value in equity, that money should basically come back to the United States, pay for these people, pay for taxes, all of that kind of stuff. What becomes interesting here is if American people can't invest into China then we also can't get the gains out of China, right? If China starts cracking down on these kind of investments more and more, it is kind of going to be a very interesting place for the world going forward. So anyways, I don't know. What do you think about this? What do you think about Meta unwinding their acquisition of Manus? What do you think about the Chinese government just getting a wee bit tired of our crap? What do you think about them? Saying this is unacceptable. Where do you think that goes? What do you think? What do you think happens when in 10 years it's China putting export controls on Huawei equipment because they don't give a damn about Nvidia? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these episodes, do remember they're on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Link is down below. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. With that, see y'all later.